Okay, so this is Bun in the Oven with Dr-Derek Haas, and the devil's in the detail.
Yes.
And this is episode 2 of Bun in the Oven. And so every time we do an episode with Dr. Haas, we also know that he's going to prepare something yummy for us. What are you preparing?
So today we're having deviled eggs.
Yes!
Because the devil's in the details.
Absolutely, and that's my favorite, deviled eggs. So I am going to go in with the questions why Dr. Haas prepares our deviled eggs.
Perfect. Okay, before we get into the first question, let me just go over just one thing first. Okay.
Okay.
So, what's the hardest thing about making hard-boiled eggs?
Making sure that they're cooked on the inside.
And then afterwards, peeling them.
Peeling them.
Right.
Oh, yes,
Peeling
that
them
is so true. That's the hardest
part.
Yes,
it's
that's the hardest part.
Right. Making sure they're cooked all the way through,
Yes.
and then also getting the peel off. Right.
Yes.
So actually the best way is not to boil the eggs, but to steam them.
Oh wow.
So what you have to do is get like a kind of like a medium saucepan with a little metal rack that fits inside. You just get just enough water that you can boil and create steam, and then you set your eggs in, and then you put on the lid, and you steam them for exactly 12 minutes.
Oh wow.
Okay, and then as soon as that 12 minutes is over, then you pull them out and put them into an ice bath so they stop cooking right away.
Okay.
Okay. So that's the first most important thing. You can only do about 6 at a time though.
Okay.
So if you try to crowd it too much, they're not going to cook.
Okay.
And then so this is one I did yesterday. Okay. So the best way to do it is just crack the egg all the way around, like that, and then you get running water. And then the running water kind of helps push the shell away, just like that. And then you get
Look
a
at that. It's
perfectly. No, you're not missing any of the flesh on the outside. So.
And mine are always stuck to the
right,
shell.
Exactly. So that's what the steaming does. Is it cooks it in such a way so it makes it so that it doesn't stick as much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We learn something
See,
every time.
Learning. Okay, what was the first question?
The first question, Dr. Haas, can you quickly explain the steps to create an embryo after the egg is retrieved from the ovary?
Okay, so in the when we're doing an egg retrieval, we have a system set up where we've got a needle, and it has tubing, and it's sucking the fluid from the follicles into a tube, and then the assistant for that day in the operating room, in our case, will hand that test tube over to the embryologist. There's like a little pass-through window. So like the IVF lab is kept on one side of the window, and the egg retrieval room is kept on the other side of the window, so they can keep that embryology room very contained, so like very controlled airflow and no germs or anything like that. So, but then once the embryologist gets the eggs, they inspect them to make sure that they first of all, they want to make sure it looks like an egg. So there's other things like other debris that can come out that can maybe look like an egg. But so they have to inspect all that and just make sure that we have a accurate count on the number of eggs that we have. And then they actually let them rest for about 4 hours. Right. Okay, so the eggs are allowed to chill out. And they have these cells around them called cumulus cells, kind of like protective cells that provide the eggs with nutrients. And so after those 4 hours are up, the embryologist has to strip those cells away, and then they're going to take most of the cases we're doing ICSI, intracytoplasmic sperm injection. So we're actually injecting the sperm one sperm inside one egg, and so they have to strip away those outside cells and then inject the sperm inside the egg, and then they leave them alone to overnight, and then the next morning they come back and they see who fertilized and who did it.
Such an awesome creation. Okay, so tell me, what is an embryo itself?
So an embryo just means that the male DNA has basically fused with the female DNA. So when a sperm is delivering their DNA, it only has basically 23 chromosomes. Okay. So that's half of a human to make for 23 chromosomes. And the egg obviously is supplying the other half. And so 23 plus 23, now you have 46. That's what makes a human, 46 chromosomes. And so when those two fuse together, now you actually have an embryo. And like a day 1 embryo would be called a zygote.
Zygote. Okay. So we often hear about embryo quality. What does that mean, and how does that affect the woman getting pregnant? I can personally say that I've seen embryos that are not so pretty.
Sure.
And the woman gets pregnant and has this healthy, beautiful baby.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, we want the pretty embryo, but if the embryo is able to actually survive to what we call a blastocyst stage, which is day 5, day 6, day 7, it's already kind of proven itself to a certain extent. And so if you have an embryo that can survive all the way till they're in at least form a stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 at least embryo, we prefer to transfer like a stage 3 through stage 6 embryo. But if it can survive to a blastocyst stage, then we can transfer it, and it's possible. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you go ahead and get started before we go to the next one.
So then, now I'm going to show you a different piece of equipment that's helpful with this particular recipe. So this is called, have you seen this before?
I've seen
an immersion blender or stick blender. So this is what helps make the for the line or the filling of the deviled eggs. That's what helps